Dream Team? It's your boy D Neal back with another reaction video, guys. Here we are at Max Verstappen makes Toto Wolff salty. All caps, salty. Guys, I'm so excited that Max Verstappen has etched his name in the history books of Formula One. 10 Grand Prix wins in a row is absolute insanity. It's absolutely phenomenal. And at this point, you just wonder, like, how many more in a row can he win? Like, at this point, every single one that he wins, he's in a row. He's just making history again and again and again. And like, how much more can he win in a row, bro? What is it going to take for someone to beat Max Verstappen? Is it possible anymore? Because these races aren't close. Seems like nobody's within 10 to 20 to 30 seconds of this man. We're going to find out. He can drive in any weather condition. It don't matter. Nothing's stopping him, bro. No one's stopping him. I'm very excited. Like I say, I always do love to see a rivalry. I love to see a challenge, but man, when history's made, you can't help but smile and just appreciate what's happening. But we're gonna jump into this. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, ring notification bell, get a video a thumbs up so it gets suggested. Oh, you got.
So Max Verstappen has won his 10th straight Grand Prix this season, and you know what? I do want to talk about that a little bit, but something else happened. We have seen two people from, well, the same team actually call out Max Verstappen, or I guess take a small jab at him. Ooh. That being Lewis Hamilton and Toto Wolff.
Oh,
now,
what they
we'll
got to
start
say?
with Lewis Hamilton, who
What
said that Max Verstappen hasn't had the same sort of crop of teammates that Lewis had, and that Lewis
and my part, Valtteri and actually all my teammates have been stronger than the teammates Max has had. Jensen Button, Fernando Alonso, George Russell, Valtteri, Nico Rosberg. These guys have all been very consistent, and Max has not raced against anyone like that. Well, Checo's pretty great. Like, I feel like people don't give Checo any credit. Like, and I don't like that, bro. I understand he's driving in the same car as Max, and he doesn't have Max Verstappen's pace, and he's not as good as Max Verstappen. I completely understand that, but I feel like people put too much disrespect on Checo's name. Like, that ain't right, bro. Like, nobody gives Checo the respect he deserves. Checo is second in the championship standings. Checo is beating everybody. Besides Max Verstappen, he's beating everybody else. Like, I don't like the disrespect that Checo gets. I don't like it. And he's also raced against Daniel Ricciardo, who's pretty good. I mean, Daniel Ricciardo is definitely a big name in Formula One, I feel like. I absolutely love his personality. But Lewis might have a point. Like I said, I haven't watched much of F1 when Lewis Hamilton was dominating. I really didn't watch any of it. And so he could have a point, and I don't know about it. I know George Russell is a great driver. I know Nico Rosberg. I saw that season. I watched those highlights where he did beat Lewis for the championship. We all know Fernando Alonso is one of the greatest drivers. I don't know Jensen Button. Valtteri, I feel like he was kind of a Checo in a way. Like, know what I'm saying? He was consistently, like, getting those second places. You know what I'm saying? He was never. I don't think he ever really challenged Lewis. But I think this comment was out of line, and here I am freaking just ranting on and on. But I think this comment was, yeah, definitely a little jab. I don't like it.
Lewis had much better teammates, much more of a challenge. And you know what? I agree with him. I think when you put them side by side, I think Lewis Hamilton had harder teammates. I think he had a harder time dealing with them, but not all of them. Now, Lewis's most difficult teammate, you could argue, would probably be Nico Rosberg, considering in 2017 that the title fights went down to the final race at Abu Dhabi. You could also probably throw in there Fernando Alonso. We know that those two really had a bit of a heated rivalry during their time at McLaren. Of course, Lewis Hamilton was the newbie, the rookie, the very, very exciting young guy. And Fernando Alonso was, in some ways, a bit of a seasoned veteran. He had 2 championships behind him, had the reputation of the man that took down Michael Schumacher. Other people he named were like Jenson Button, for example. He even put Valtteri Bottas in there as well, which we will talk about in a second. Now, Max, of course, has had some pretty good teammates as well. I think the 2 best, of course, would have to be Daniel Ricciardo. I think I'd put as number 1, Max's most difficult teammate or biggest rivalry he had while at Red Bull. And at Toro Rosso, a lot of people have mentioned Carlos Sainz, who was definitely a very exciting young guy when he came into the sport. Still today, a very talented guy.
I never knew Max and Carlos Sainz were ever teammates. That was interesting.
Who is definitely capable of delivering great results. But this is where I have a bit of a strong opinion on this. Because yes, so far in 2022 and 2023, Max has dealt with Sergio Perez very easily. Sergio Perez was simply not in either title fight. Last year or this year, he hasn't really been in the battle. I know a lot of people maybe hoped for it.
That's true. But he's beating everybody else. I still, like I said, I don't know. Maybe I don't know a whole lot about like F1 as a longtime fan would know, and so maybe I'm giving Checo too much credit. But I just feel like he gets disrespected too much to be second place in the championship driver. But constructive cup, whatever it is in the championship, I feel like he gets too much disrespected. He doesn't get enough credit for the driving that he does because it is so overshadowed by Max Verstappen, who if any driver on the track, I don't know if anybody you could also throw in Checo's car that could beat Max. Y'all know I'm a big Lando Norris fan, love Lando Norris, but I don't know if there's anyone you could throw in that Red Bull car that could compete with Max head to head for that championship. So I love Checo. I'm not mad at him, and I just think he doesn't get enough credit.
And we get another teammate duel for the title, but it just hasn't happened. And you know what? It probably won't. But Lewis, we need to remember that in 2021, he beat you. Yes, I know that 2021 is very controversial.
Very
yes,
controversial.
I am aware of what happened at the final race in Abu Dhabi. An absolute storm took over the F1 world when we saw Max win the title. But at the end of the day, I think both drivers were exceptional in 2021. And I'm on the side of that. I think Max deserved the title more. This isn't me trying to, hate on Lewis Hamilton. You guys, if you watch his channel a lot, you'd know I have a lot of respect for Lewis. I really do. I think
7 championships is, bro, you can't not have respect for Lewis Hamilton and the success that he's had in Formula One and what he's been able to do, and him dominating his time of domination. You can't have anything but respect for him. But I just don't like these little jabs. I don't like it. Like, you had your time of dominating. You're one of the best drivers to ever race in Formula One. But now it's Max's time. You feel me?
Channel a lot, you'd know I have a lot of respect for Lewis. I really do. I think he's one of the greatest of all time. And anyone that believes he is definitely the greatest of all time, I mean, I respect your opinion because I think it is very valid. The stats are there to back it up. The wins are there to back it up. The championships, of course, are there to back it up. And just to remind you guys, again, I am a lifelong Schumacher fan, and, I do have a lot of respect for Lewis. I really did think he was going to win number 8 until that incident at the end of the race in 2021. But there were a lot of things that happened during that season. I think Max had a lot of unlucky moments, such as Baku, for example, a tyre failure which ruined his race. And if Lewis Hamilton didn't go straight on at the restart, the title, it would have been his. Max wouldn't have had enough points at the end of the race to win the title. Now, I want to move on to what Toto Wolff said, because this one I feel like rubs me the wrong way a lot more. I feel like what Lewis said, I agreed with. I think Lewis Hamilton had tougher teammates in his career. Toto Wolff has basically downplayed the significance and the achievement of Max winning 10 straight titles. Let me pull up the exact quote. Our situation was maybe a little different because we had two guys fighting against each other within the team. I don't know whether he, Max, cares about the record. It's not something that would be important for me, any of those numbers. It's for Wikipedia, and nobody reads that anyway. First of all, Toto, I read that. This is an achievement. This is now a legitimate stat. It is a record. This is a Formula 1 record. 10 consecutive wins is the record, and it is currently held by Max Verstappen. He set that record yesterday in Monza. That is added to his CV.
Yeah, I don't like to trying to downplay it, bro. Like, I understand he's a rival. He's a good, even though Max doesn't really have any rivals this year. But Red Bull and Max Verstappen, right? They're rivals, so you're not gonna say anything nice about him. But at the same time, don't try to downplay, like, Max making history. Like, I don't know exactly how long Formula 1 has been around, but for him to be the first one in the history of the sport to win 10 Grand Prix in a row, whether it because he doesn't have a teammate who challenges him, there's nobody else on the track who's challenging him either, right? There's nobody else out there. So I don't really like that one. I feel like, it may be just a stat, but I feel like it's a huge accomplishment. Like, and as long as F1's been around, nobody else has done it, and there's no downplaying how great like you have to be to win 10 Grand Prix in a row.
Record yesterday in Monza. That is added to his CV, if you ask me. Now, I really want to put this out there, and I just need to ask this question. When are we going to stop pretending that Valtteri Bottas was a legitimate title challenge against Lewis Hamilton?
He wasn't.
Does anyone think that Valtteri Bottas was a actual title challenge to Lewis Hamilton?
I don't even think Valtteri, and no disrespect to Valtteri, because I think it was a phenomenal driver at Mercedes, but I don't even think he thinks he was a legit title contender against Lewis Hamilton. I don't believe he believes that.
Anyone think that? Does anyone actually think that? And I'm not trying to be a dickhead. I'm not trying to clown Valtteri Bottas. I have the utmost respect for Valtteri Bottas, but we can't sit here and pretend that he made Lewis Hamilton's life extremely difficult while he was at Mercedes. Valtteri Bottas was known as the perfect number 2 driver. How has everybody suddenly forgotten about that? It wasn't too long ago that people were legitimately debating who was the better number 2 driver, Valtteri Bottas or Rubens Barrichello. Seriously, is everybody trying to fit this into a anti-Max agenda, trying to downplay what Max is doing because, Lewis had teammates like Valtteri Bottas, who was such a dangerous challenge to those titles, such a threat to steal one? Are we forgetting about the Valtteri it's James? Are we forgetting again about how he was the perfect number 2 driver? Everyone was saying that for years, from 2017 to 2021. He was known as the perfect number 2 driver. I don't understand where this has come from. Like, is this a new thing? I'm struggling to understand it here. Now, yes, Rosberg, he was a bit of a nightmare for Lewis Hamilton. Of course he was at Mercedes. He won a championship. He beat Lewis Hamilton in 2016. Valtteri Bottas looked nothing like Nico Rosberg. Everyone knew that Mercedes never wanted that situation again. First of all, that rivalry between Lewis and Rosberg.
There you go. And I understand, like, you wanted two drivers that push the car and challenge each other, but at the same time, the teams, when I'm watching F1 Drive to Survive, bro, they don't be wanting the drivers to challenge each other. They don't be wanting the drivers to race against each other. One's in front, right? They don't want the other one to pass them unless they have a faster pace. But other than that, hey, sit back there. They don't want them to go head to head in racing. And so I feel like you want a number 2 driver. You want your number 1 driver. You want your number 2 driver. Now, if your number 1 driver is underperforming, at that point, it's like, know what I'm saying? We need our other driver to step up. Challenge him. But if your number one driver is Max Verstappen, you're not looking for, I feel like, a driver to absolutely challenge Max Verstappen for the championship, because Max got it wrapped up. I feel like Checo's the perfect number two driver for Max Verstappen. But that's just how I feel. That's just how I feel.
Ever wanted that situation again? First of all, that rivalry between Lewis and Rosberg was causing a lot of tension in Mercedes. Everyone knew that. It's not ideal for a team to have two drivers that absolutely hate each other, because they end up crashing, like in Spain or Austria. You could tell that Lewis and Nico didn't really like each other. I'm struggling to see where that was the same with Bottas and Lewis. I really don't know where this has come from, and I'm really surprised that I need to talk about this. But I don't think it's fair for Toto Wolff to say it's simply a Wikipedia thing now. No one cares about that. People do care about it. It's a historic moment in Formula One. It's a new record. Does that mean Lewis and Michael's championship, record doesn't matter? Does that mean that Lewis Hamilton's win record doesn't matter? Does it not matter that Max Verstappen is the youngest race winner in history? Does all of that just not matter anymore? What matters? Someone tell me what matters now.
I love his videos so much, bro. I feel like, especially as a new fan, I feel like he definitely, his videos are definitely interesting. And I love hearing his perspective on things. Because I may have a different perspective, but then I get to listen to him, who's been a fan for a long time, and versus my perspective as a new fan. And it's just cool to kind of listen to him talk about other drivers that have been absolutely dominant in history that I might not know about. That's all we got. If you guys got a favorite video suggestion, you can subscribe to Patreon or drop it in the comment section. It's your boy D Neal. Out.